Welcome back to Game On Now. Interesting story. At the start of this season, the big question was, can anyone catch Mamelodi Sundowns? So far, one club has really done a great job at not only matching Sundowns for entertainment value in ensuring that the fans lock on to whenever they play. They've also given us a few stars. That, of course, is Orlando Pirates. Shane McGregor, who stand on the other side of the fence in as far as the Soweto Giants, sits alongside me. And let's talk about Pirates. What they've done to catch up to Sundowns. There was quite a big gap between those two sides and everybody else in Sundowns for years now. But what they've done to not only catch up, but give us stars as well that the average man can talk about daily.
Yeah, I've liked the way they've gone about it. Rivera has been a very good coach. When he first came here, everyone was doubting him. What I do like at Pirates, they've given him extended time to settle down and get the players and do what he's doing. What's brilliant about him, he's not shy to play the youngsters. He's not shy to bring youngsters into the team. And that's what's been their uplifting so far, is that they're bringing in those youngsters, getting results, they're scoring goals, they're doing well for him. And with that, some of those youngsters have gone to the Bafana team. So, that's what I like. He's not scared to play the players. Other clubs are scared to play youngsters because they're worried about what's going to happen down the line. But he hasn't. I mean, he's built a very good squad. And that's the other thing. It's not just 11 players or 15 or 16 players. He's built a squad. And he knows exactly what happens. They're in Africa, they're playing locally, they're playing in cups, which they're very well known for. You need to have a big squad. And he's done that. He's developed a big squad of good players, of journeymen, as well as youngsters that he's brought in. And he's been brilliant. I take my hat off to him.
I have to talk about Pirates fans as well. The way they responded to Rivera's Pirates side, in that the Orlando Stadium hasn't been the other stadium we used to today in some years. I think the last time I can think of a Pirates team that was had so many young stars was back in the puppy era, when you had Vilagazi, you had Tumutu, you had Gifted Remy, young players then. But since then, I don't think we've had quite the same Pirates until now.
Until now, exactly. Yeah. And the fans have recognised that.
Those guys didn't win anything.
But the fans have recognised that. Yeah. And that's why they're coming back in their droves to watch, because it's exciting football and because they know that they can compete against all the sides they're playing against. So that's been the big thing for me, Yeah. Gone are the days when a Pirates-Chiefs game was a sellout.
Yes.
Nowadays, it hasn't been, but it's getting there. And that's what I like. It's getting there slowly. We need a strong Pirates. We need a strong Chiefs to have this league competitive. And Pirates have done their bit. It's up to the other teams to do it themselves.
Playing the Champions League night sometimes on a Friday night, when the Orlando Stadium responds well on a Friday night, with fans respecting the Champions League as well. That's also another big change for them.
It is a big change
for us, I think, as a community.
It is a big change for them, but it's also, they're doing it the proper way, I think. It gives the opposition less time to acclimatise, less time to with the travelling and all of that. So it's a very clever, you always got to try and do everything in your favour. And they're very clever in doing that. So it's one day less than you would normally have. So they've done well. But the fans have had the buy-in. And that's the big thing for me. If a fan comes and supporters and you've got supporters behind you, it makes a big difference to the team.
Tell you about some of the big sides on the continent you are likely, even as a fan, when you go to the Cairo International Stadium, you're an away fan. You feel it every minute that you're there, and it's very much a home stadium for those that are at home. And Orlando Pirates has been one of those sort of feelings. And, we're back with more on the other side of this in discussing the beautifully South African game. Welcome back to Game On, and we've been talking about sides that are looking to dethrone Mamelodi Sundowns this season, where Sundowns, of course, setting the bar as high as they have over the last good number of years now. Another side outside of Orlando Pirates that's, I think, been a nice surprise package over the last 3 years. Breath of fresh air. Yeah. Stellenbosch under Barker, they not only have given us quality, but they've upset things at the top quite impressively.
But also what I like about them, the development of players. They brought through players, they've had players coming in there. But what's been disappointing for me is that they sold some of their star players off. Obviously, money talks. They need the club to keep on running. But for me, that's a big disappointment, because if you keep those star players, especially now when you're in Africa, it makes a big difference. When you play in Africa, people don't realize this. You need a big squad. You can't just have 10, 15 or 15 players, 20 players. You've got to have a very big squad. The traveling kills you. They're coming back then you've got to go play league games. So you travel into Africa, come back, travel, say, to Gauteng to come play a game. It takes it out of you. So that's been their little bit of Achilles heel this season, is that, they've sold on players, and also now all they're traveling with Africa and playing in Africa makes a big difference. But they're still holding their heads up high and getting results. I would like to see what happens come the end of the season, exactly where they are. For me, so far this season, they haven't been the same Stellenbosch that they were last year. No. So it's just a matter of getting everything right. Keeping the star players, number one, and then number two is you'll always challenge against Sundowns.
I think they'll argue and say, look, well, maybe lots of players left last year, but when you look at the national team right now, you got Sundowns, you got Pirates, and you got these players there, which is something that's improved for them, of course, when you look at last season. But then you include Sundowns into this conversation. And now I want to ask you, you mentioned Stellies, the travels to Africa and to different parts of the country when they play locally. But how important is it for Sundowns to keep their dominance? How important is it for Saturday like Sundowns to have their own stadium? I mean, they play either Loftus or the Lucas Motsepe Stadium, where they share with SuperSport United or with the Bulls, but don't have their own home. I mean, come think about it. Sundowns with their own stadium, how would that affect things?
It would be a lot better for them, because then they can have a stronghold there. It's all our teams in this country basically don't own their own stadiums.
Well, one venue, I'm saying.
Yeah, but play off one venue, that's a different story. But it's not always available, and that's the big thing. Africa, you've got different rules to the local league. It's all of this. Loftus, they play there sometimes, but there's also rugby play there.
Yeah.
But, Sundowns, the one, going back to the football side, the one good thing for them is the squad that they got, the players that they got. So if they lose one player, they're bringing in basically of similar quality, if not the same, So that makes a big difference. But I agree with you. There were talks that a few clubs were looking to build their own stadium. I know Chiefs were going to build one in Nature Arena. But also it all costs big money, and that's the big thing. Would you rather spend it on the players, bringing new players in, or buy a stadium?
Tell you what they've done on the continent to be named alongside the best clubs on the continent, where they're training, let's say in Uganda, they fill out the stadium just training. Which is something that's mind-blowing from a South African point of view to think about, something we've had to grow used to over the last few years. Well, here it is, Mamelodi Sundowns. Mamelodi. It's like when there's an Orlando Pirates playing at Johannesburg Stadium back in the day, but there's Orlando.
Yeah.
It's just
doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what Sundowns should look at. Is even if it's a 40,000 stadium, why not? Then it's your own, and then it's your stronghold. Teams will fear going there, but at the moment, moving around makes it a little bit easier for opposition teams. Not that Sundowns are easy.
Certainly not easy as well. I'd implore you to think back some, 10, 15, 20 years, when Patrice Motsepe took over Sundowns. There was something new in South African football where they even had ads with Bafana Bastille. And it was something fresh. It's something they said to us, there's something new coming in the horizon where Bafana Bastille could be looking to take on the continent. And over the years they have, the only thing that's missing is Bafana Bastille with their own home ground. So let's hope they just cap that off and take us to the next step in South African football. Thank you so much for joining us for the first show of 2025. Thank you so much to Shane McGregor. So, hey, hopefully we have a great year in 2025, yeah?
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we won't forget about 2024.
And let's not forget about Cherise Kosana as well. Looking forward to having him back on the show. From myself, Susan Mapena, and the rest of the team that is behind the scenes. Click, click.